I never liked driving through the Hollywood Hills at night, but that evening I didn't have a choice. I had just finished a late shift downtown, and my phone GPS rerouted me because of road construction. It sent me uphill, away from the city lights, winding through narrow roads lined with dark mansions and trees that leaned too close to the asphalt. At first, it felt normal. Quiet but normal. The radio played softly. The dashboard clock read 12:47 a.m. My headlights cut through the darkness, just enough to show sharp turns and steep drops beyond the guardrails. Every now and then, I passed a house perched high above the road, its windows dark like no one lived there. That was when I noticed how empty everything felt. No other cars. No headlights behind me. No oncoming traffic. I told myself it made sense. It was late. Most people were asleep. Still, something about the silence felt heavier than it should have. The city below was invisible now, swallowed by the hills and trees. The road twisted again, and my GPS recalculated. Then recalculated again. I glanced at the screen. The route line flickered, shifted, then settled back into place. The estimated arrival time jumped from 18 minutes to 41. That's not right, I muttered. I slowed slightly, scanning the road signs. I passed one that read Mulholland Drive. That made sense. Mulholland was long, confusing, and easy to get turned around on. I relaxed a little, trusting the GPS to sort itself out. 5 minutes later, I passed the same sign again. I checked my mirrors, convinced I must have looped around somehow. But the road behind me was straight. No intersections. No obvious turns I could have missed. My phone buzzed. No signal. The radio crackled and cut to static. I reached to turn it off, but before I touched the knob, the static stopped on its own. Silence filled the car. That was when I saw the headlights ahead. They weren't moving. A car sat parked on the side of the road, hazard lights off, engine running. Its headlights were on, pointed directly toward the trees. No one inside that I could see. I slowed as I approached, my stomach tightening. People didn't just park out here. Not like this. Not in the middle of nowhere. As I passed, I glanced inside. The driver's seat was empty. The door was closed. The engine was running. The headlights stayed fixed forward, like the car was waiting for someone who never came back. I pressed the gas. The road dipped, then climbed again. Another turn. Another stretch of darkness. My GPS screen went black for a second, then turned back on. Recalculating. The arrival time disappeared. I swallowed hard. That's when the road sign appeared ahead of me, illuminated briefly by my headlights. End of route. I slowed to a stop. The road didn't end. It continued straight ahead into the darkness. But the sign was real, reflective, bolted into the ground like it had always been there. My engine idled quietly. The air inside the car felt thick, like it was harder to breathe. Somewhere in the trees, something shifted. Not footsteps. Not wind. Just movement. I realized then that I hadn't seen a single streetlight in over 10 minutes. And I had no idea how far up the hills I really was. I sat there longer than I should have, staring past the end of route sign and into the darkness beyond it. The road was clearly there, fresh asphalt, faint yellow lines, no barrier, no dead end. The sign felt less like a warning and more like a statement, as if something had already decided for me. I checked my phone again. No signal. No map. Just the dim glow of my lock screen reflecting my own tense face back at me. I told myself to turn around. I shifted into reverse and glanced at the backup camera. For a second, it showed the stretch of road behind me, empty, winding downhill. Then the screen flickered and went black. The car beeped softly, warning me the system was unavailable. My heart started to pound harder. I twisted in my seat and looked over my shoulder instead. The road behind me was gone.
Not blocked.
Not hidden by fog.
Gone.
Where there should have been asphalt, there was only darkness between the trees, like the road had never existed at all. The headlights illuminated trunks and brush, uneven ground where pavement should have been. No tire marks. No guardrail. Nothing. My breath caught in my throat. That's not possible, I whispered. I shifted back into drive. The engine responded immediately, smooth and obedient, like it had been waiting. I eased forward past the sign, half expecting the car to stall or the road to vanish under my tires. It didn't. The asphalt stayed solid beneath me. The end of route sign disappeared in my mirrors. The road narrowed as I continued, the turns sharper now, the hills steeper. Trees closed in from both sides, their branches arching overhead until my headlights could barely cut through. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger this time, heavier, like something just out of sight was keeping pace with me. Then I saw the houses. They appeared suddenly, lining the road without warning. Large homes, tucked close together, all dark. No porch lights. No interior glow. Just tall gates and long driveways disappearing uphill. This was still Los Angeles. I knew that, but it didn't feel like it anymore. I passed a street sign I didn't recognize. The name was scratched out, the letters carved over with something sharp. Whatever it used to say was gone, replaced by uneven grooves that caught the light at strange angles. A few minutes later, my GPS turned back on. Relief washed through me until I looked at the screen. There was no map. Just a single blue, me, floating in a blank gray space. No streets. No labels. No direction. Beneath it, a message blinked on and off. Continue straight. I can't, I said out loud. There isn't even a straight road. The screen didn't change. I followed the road anyway. The houses grew closer together, yet still lifeless. I slowed as I passed one with its front gate wide open. The driveway was long and steep, vanishing into darkness. Halfway up, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. Footprints. Fresh ones. They led down the driveway toward the road, stopping just short of the asphalt. None leading back up. I drove past without stopping, my hands slick with sweat. A few turns later, I noticed headlights behind me. I felt a jolt of relief, so strong it almost made me laugh. Another car meant normalcy. Another driver meant I wasn't alone. The headlights stayed far back, never gaining, never falling behind. I slowed. They slowed. I sped up. They matched my pace perfectly. I checked my mirrors again, trying to see the shape of the car. All I could make out were the lights, bright, white, steady. No flicker. No sway. They followed me through every turn. I took a sharp curve too fast, tires squealing slightly, heart racing. The headlights stayed centered behind me, unaffected, like the car following didn't have to obey the road the same way I did. Stop, I muttered. Just pass me. Please. They didn't. The road dipped suddenly, then leveled out. Ahead, I saw another parked car. This one stopped in the middle of the lane, engine running, headlights on. My stomach dropped. I recognized it. It was the same car I'd seen earlier. Same color. Same position. Same empty driver's seat. I hit the brakes hard. The car behind me vanished. No sound. No engine. No headlights. Just gone. I sat there, shaking, staring at the empty car ahead of me. The interior light flicked on for a brief moment, illuminating the driver's seat. Something shifted inside. I didn't wait to see what. I swerved around it and kept driving, my heart hammering against my ribs. The road climbed higher, the air thinner, the city nowhere to be seen. Then I noticed something worse. Every house I passed now had lights on. Not warm lights. Not welcoming ones. Every window glowed the same dull white, and every single one of them faced the road, as if they were watching. I didn't slow down. The houses blurred past me as I drove, every window glowing with that same lifeless, white light. None of them had curtains. None of them showed movement. It felt like I was passing a street full of eyes that refused to blink. My breathing grew shallow. I kept glancing between the road and my mirrors, half expecting the headlights to reappear behind me. They didn't. The road ahead stretched on, narrow and winding, climbing higher into the hills. Then the lights in the houses went out. All at once. Not one by one. Not flickering. Just darkness. The sudden absence hit harder than the light ever had. The road felt exposed now, stripped of whatever false sense of company those glowing windows had given me. My headlights were the only thing cutting through the night. I passed another sign. No street name. Just a reflective arrow pointing forward. I followed it. The road began looping in on itself. I recognized the turns now. The sharp curve near the steep drop, the cracked patch of asphalt shaped like a crescent, the bent guardrail half hidden by brush. I had driven this stretch already. I was sure of it. But each time, something was different. A house closer to the road. A tree leaning at a slightly wrong angle. A driveway that hadn't been there before. Like the hills were rearranging themselves when I wasn't looking. My phone vibrated again. Still no signal. A notification appeared anyway. You're going the right way. My hands tightened on the wheel. I want to go home, I said aloud, my voice thin inside the car. The road dipped sharply, and my headlights revealed something ahead that forced me to slow. A person stood in the middle of the lane. They didn't wave, didn't step aside, just stood there, facing away from me, perfectly still.
Tall, thin,
wearing dark clothes that blended into the night. I rolled to a stop several yards away, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Hey, I called through the closed window. Are you okay? The figure didn't respond. I considered turning around, but the thought of what might be behind me stopped that instantly. I tapped the horn, short and sharp. The sound felt muffled, like it never traveled beyond the car. Slowly, the figure turned. Their face was wrong. Not distorted. Not monstrous. Just blank. Features smoothed over, like a mannequin that hadn't been finished yet. No eyes. No mouth. Nothing that reflected light. My chest tightened painfully. They took a step toward me. Then another. I threw the car into reverse without thinking. The backup camera flashed on and showed the same figure standing inches from my rear bumper, facing the car. I screamed and slammed the brake. The engine stalled. The dashboard lights flickered wildly, then went dark. The car rolled to a stop on its own. Outside, the figure vanished. Silence pressed in from all sides. I sat frozen, barely breathing, waiting for something, anything, to happen. The engine started on its own. Every dashboard light returned to normal. The radio clicked on suddenly, blasting static, so loud I flinched. I shut it off immediately, my hands shaking. I didn't look for the figure again. I drove. The road began sloping downward now. Gradually at first, then more steeply. Trees thinned out, replaced by open stretches of hillside. The air felt warmer, heavier, like I was descending out of something. Then I saw it. The city. Los Angeles sprawled below me, lights glittering in the distance, like nothing had ever been wrong. Traffic moved along the freeways. Towers stood tall against the sky. Normal.
real.
Relief hit me so hard my eyes burned. I followed the road as it merged back into familiar streets. Streetlights appeared. Stop signs. Painted lines that made sense again. My GPS came back to life, the map snapping into place like it had never been gone. I pulled over near a lookout and shut off the engine. My hands were still shaking. I checked the time. 1:12 a.m. Only 25 minutes had passed. I sat there for a long time, staring at the city, convincing myself I was safe. That whatever I'd driven through was over. That it was just exhaustion. Stress. My imagination filling in gaps. Then I noticed something on my phone. A saved location. No name. No address. Just a pin dropped high in the Hollywood Hills. And beneath it, a note I didn't remember typing. End of route. I deleted it immediately. I don't drive through the Hollywood Hills at night anymore. And sometimes, when I look up from the city streets, I swear I can still see headlights watching from above, waiting for someone else to miss their turn. I thought deleting the pin would be enough. For a while it was. Days passed. Then weeks. I went back to my routine, work, traffic, late nights, the usual noise of the city. I avoided the Hollywood Hills entirely, taking longer routes just to stay on main roads. Every time my GPS suggested a shortcut uphill, I ignored it without hesitation. I told myself that what happened was a combination of exhaustion and stress. The mind filling in blanks. A late-night hallucination stretched across unfamiliar roads. That explanation almost worked. Almost. The first thing that broke it was my car. One morning, as I was leaving for work, the dashboard screen flickered on before I even turned the key. For half a second, I saw a blank gray map with a single blue, me, floating in nothing. Then it snapped back to normal. I stood there staring at it, my heart racing, until my neighbor's car pulled out behind me and the moment passed. I drove to work shaken, but nothing else happened that day. The next time was harder to ignore. I was downtown, stuck in traffic, surrounded by noise and people. My phone buzzed with a navigation alert even though I hadn't opened any map. Continue straight. I laughed under my breath, more out of nerves than humor, and locked my phone. When I checked it again later, the notification was gone. I stopped laughing after that. Over the next month, it kept happening in small, quiet ways. Street signs that looked unfamiliar for just a second too long. Turns that felt wrong, even though I'd driven them 100 times. Once, late at night, I passed a parked car with its headlights on and felt a jolt of panic, so sharp I had to pull over. The driver's seat was empty. The worst part wasn't the fear. It was the feeling of being gently guided. Like something wasn't chasing me, just waiting for me to make a mistake. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up satellite maps on my computer and searched the hills above the city. I zoomed in on Mulholland Drive, tracing every curve, every side road. Everything looked normal, documented, accounted for. Then I noticed a gap. A thin stretch where the satellite imagery blurred slightly, the resolution lower than the surrounding area. No street names. No landmarks. Just green and shadow where roads should have been. I zoomed in further. The system refused. An error message popped up saying the area was unavailable. I leaned back in my chair, my skin prickling. I didn't go looking for stories after that. I didn't want to feed whatever it was with attention. But stories have a way of finding you anyway. I overheard two coworkers talking about a friend who'd gotten lost driving home one night. Ended up miles from where he should have been with no memory of how. A rideshare driver mentioned a fare that vanished halfway through a trip into the hills, leaving the car empty and running. And once, just once, I heard someone use the phrase end of route without realizing why it made my chest tighten. I stopped driving at night whenever I could. Then 6 months later, it happened again. I wasn't even in the hills. I was on a familiar street, less than 10 minutes from home, when my GPS recalculated unexpectedly. The screen dimmed, then displayed a single instruction. Turn left. There was no left turn, just a narrow uphill road I'd never taken before. I slowed, my pulse thudding in my ears. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, driving straight, pretending none of it mattered. But something deep in my gut told me the choice itself was the point. I drove straight. The GPS went dark. The radio shut off. The streetlights ahead blinked out one by one. I gripped the wheel, waiting for the road to change, to narrow, to rise, to pull me back where I'd been before. It didn't. The lights came back on. The radio crackled to life. Traffic appeared ahead of me like it always had. I exhaled, shaky and relieved. When I got home, I checked my phone one last time before going inside. There was a new saved location. No name, no address, just a pin dropped somewhere above the city. And beneath it, a single line of text. Missed turn. I didn't delete it this time. I powered the phone off and set it face down on the table. Because whatever lives on those roads doesn't need you to go looking for it. It just needs you tired enough, distracted enough, lost enough. And sooner or later, everyone misses a turn. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every turn, every sign, every moment where I could have chosen differently. The city outside my window sounded normal. Sirens in the distance, a car passing, someone laughing far away. But it all felt staged, like background noise meant to keep me calm. At around 3 a.m., my phone vibrated. I didn't touch it. The vibration stopped on its own. Morning came eventually, thin sunlight cutting through the curtains. For a few seconds, I felt foolish. Exhaustion. Stress. That's what it had been. Nothing more. I made coffee, showered, and tried to pretend the night before had never happened. When I stepped outside, my car was parked exactly where I left it. But the tires were warm. I crouched down and pressed my palm against the rubber, my stomach twisting. I hadn't driven since getting home. There was no reason for that. I checked the mileage. It was higher than I remembered. Not by much. Just enough to notice. I spent the rest of the day distracted, jumping at small sounds, checking reflections in windows and mirrors. Every time I passed an uphill road, my chest tightened. I avoided them instinctively, even when they would have been faster. That night, I dreamed of headlights. They weren't behind me or ahead of me, just hovering at the edges of my vision, waiting for me to look directly at them. Every time I tried, the road beneath me stretched longer. I woke up with my phone buzzing on the nightstand. No notification. No missed call. Just the screen glowing faintly, already unlocked. A map was open. The pin was still there. I stared at it for a long time before closing the app. I didn't delete it. I didn't move it. I just locked the phone and turned it face down again. Weeks passed. Then months. Nothing happened. And that's what scared me the most. Because now I know it isn't urgent. It isn't aggressive. It doesn't need to rush. Whatever waits on those roads doesn't chase people. It reroutes them. And one night, maybe years from now, I'll be tired enough, distracted enough, confident enough to ignore that uneasy feeling and take a shortcut uphill. When that happens, I don't think there will be signs. No warnings. No chance to turn back. Just a quiet road, a working engine, and a route that finally decides I'm ready to finish it.